Hi everybody, Kurt Shaver of Vengresso here, and welcome to the Modern Sales Mastery Show. I'm excited today to be talking to you guys about how to use video for prospecting techniques. So I'm going to start off by bringing up my slides so that we all know we're in the right place. All right, again, here we go. This year you've been hearing a lot from my partner Mario Martinez so far, and today I'm going to be talking about video, and in a couple of weeks, you're going to be hearing from Vivica von Rosen. So we split up the duties, and let's get going. So the first thing that I'll say, whether you've been here to a number of our shows on the Sales Expert channel, or this is the first one, Vengresso produces a lot of content around the area of digital, virtual, social, remote selling, call it whatever you want. But if you like to keep up with the latest, because it is a very fast changing subject area to be sure, then here are some of the different ways that you can join the Vengresso movement depending on what styles and formats, etc., that you enjoy. So certainly you can follow our LinkedIn company page. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are typically posting at least one, sometimes as many as 3 very short videos, which could be a combination of little how-to tips. It could be customer interviews. Sometimes there's even some longer form content on there, like webinars and keynote presentations. And then finally, if you're a Twitter user, you can follow us there on Twitter, all in the Vengresso universe. So we encourage everybody to do that. I'm going to go ahead and move on. So let's talk about the agenda for today. I'm going to be first really setting the stage from a big picture standpoint. When we talk about video for sales, there are a lot of different ways to use different formats of video. So I'm going to start off by defining those, and we'll talk about which ones we're not going to talk about today and which ones we are going to talk about today. After that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the benefits of video. So in this case, we'll be staying here in the slide deck, really talking about concepts to make sure everybody understands the different use cases that we're going to be looking at. And then we're going to just go into the real thing. I'll stop the PowerPoint presentation. I'll go live into my browser, and I will show you a number of examples of some of our clients, some of our own Vengresso salespeople, and also one that I did, so you can actually see these. I mean, I always kind of laugh, you know, to have a PowerPoint discussion about video is crazy, right? I mean, you're really you're losing the most important piece of it. So we are definitely going to show you some real video examples. Okay, with that in mind, then let's go ahead and talk about the big picture of types of video. How is video used in selling? I'm going to start in the upper left-hand corner in that orange quadrant. Let's start there, and I'll go around clockwise. So the first type of video, again, just for context, would be a live broadcast. That is a one-way communication medium. The most common example is a webinar. But again, it's really a broadcast phenomena, and that is very good for top of the funnel, for lead generation, for sort of marketing purposes, branding, awareness, all of those types of things, right? It's got a great fit for that. That is not what we are going to talk about here. That's usually conducted, if you're in a larger company, you know, by the marketing department. If you're a small business or a solo entrepreneur, coach, consultant, something like that, you may do that as well. But again, that's kind of in your marketing type activities. Now, the next one, if we move over to kind of that peach colored one, we have a live video conference call. That is a two-way dialogue. If we opened up everybody's lines on this right now and we were discussing back and forth, you know, that is the classic, or at least the very common, you know, Zoom / Microsoft Teams / WebEx / Citrix, et cetera, communication medium, which everybody is familiar with in the last 12 months, obviously because of COVID quarantines, social isolations, et cetera. That has probably been the primary communication vehicle, both internally at most companies, as people have been sent home from the office, as well as externally with customers and prospects. So again, Not talking about that one here today. That one is obviously very well known. But the other point that I really want to make about that from a selling standpoint is we kind of have this joke at WebSense, which is nobody ever accepts, no prospect is ever going to accept a cold Zoom call. In other words, if you're trying to get that first meeting, you've got to come up with some other way of getting that person's attention in order to get to the Zoom conference call or MS Teams conference call that you would have. So from a selling standpoint, very powerful. It's not the first thing that gets you started on a sales cycle, however. Okay, continuing around the wheel, let's talk about this. So below the line are actually both recorded. You can see above the line, they're both live sessions. Below the line, now we're talking about recorded messages. Now there's two types of recorded video messages that are most common in selling. In the darker purple there, lower right-hand side, we're talking about a one-to-many post. Now again, the objective for this, similar to the webinar, is that marketing or the branding or market awareness, its visibility, its thought leadership, because you as the recorder of this are sharing your thoughts with a very wide audience, because again, the delivery vehicle for this is typically a social post. Like you might see a video, somebody do a 90-second video on LinkedIn, and obviously it's available to millions of people on LinkedIn that could see that. So that is, again, a different objective in your business development strategy, where that's more of a top of the funnel. Now, the last one we're going to talk about, and this is actually going to be the bulk of our examples on this webinar, is a private recorded video message delivered through email. And that is either a one-to-one, meaning you are sending it to one person, or you may be sending it to a few people. Maybe there's 3 or 4 people on the buying committee, and you're going to send that message to everyone. But this is again, think of this the same way you would send an email, but this is obviously a richer medium to communicate what you would put in an all-text email. Okay, so that is the big picture. Wanted to set that up. All right, so just a few statistics that we'll share about video, and then, now we've got a split in the poll. And then we're gonna get into some of these use cases. First off, obviously video is hot in so many different ways. Here's a statistic, all right, 81% of the internet traffic is responsible or is driven by video. 90% of customers say that video helps them make a buying decision. And it's not just the middle management level either. No, the C-suite executives are saying that they would actually rather watch a video than read a text, right? They'd rather watch the movie than read the book. So think about that before you send that long text email, that particularly if you're calling on VPs or on the C-suite. Again, video very effective in that audience. Now, this is a very pertinent statistic that came from Zant, which is a sales cadence messaging platform. And in their study, they found that when a seller increases the media that they use in their outreach, or the methods that they use in their outreach, when they increase it from 1 to 3 or more, that the contact rate of that outreach goes up by a factor of 400. I mean, that is crazy increase. So what do I mean by formats or media? So in other words, if a seller is only using a telephone and making outbound cold calls, for example, or a seller is only using email, that's going to count as 1. Okay, but if the seller using in their cadence, in their outreach cadence, if they're using the telephone and maybe social media and or email and including a video in it, again, they're using these different methods of outreach, then their connection, their contact rate, their response rate to this outreach goes up by a factor of 4. That is really, really important takeaway from this webinar for anybody that's doing prospecting. So again, video works. So let's go ahead and take a look. Now, I'm just going to kind of flash up these 16 different use cases for video. I'm not going to spend too much time on them. Now, we spend a lot of time on these 16 in our 8-week Selling with Video course. It's an all virtual course, and we are teaching you every week to make a new video for one of these particular use cases. So by the end of the program, you've really built up a repertoire of a number of different ways to use video. So again, we don't have really time in this 45-minute webinar to cover something that we usually take 8 weeks. But again, maybe it'll trigger some thoughts here. So we'll just look at a few of these different ways. Ones we're going to talk about today, some way, shape, or form, will be the very first one, certainly, to send a prospecting message via email using a video message. So we're definitely going to look at that. That is the #1 use case of video. You know, there's a lot of other things you could use it in various LinkedIn messaging context, inviting people, accepting invitations. You can use it as an out of office. We are going to also look at #4. I'll show you the use case for #4 right here, where we're going to provide a guided overview of your proposal. And particularly in this still quarantined period, that's really a very effective use of video when you can't be there with the customer in most cases to actually walk them through a proposal. And we're going to look at, again, this is just kind of the big long list. We're also we'll take a look at a version of 14, which is this idea of posting a regular video so that just to kind of on social to keep people up to speed with you. We're going to see a great example of that. Again, a lot of different things in there, whether it's a demo, you know, introductions, referrals, a lot of different use cases here. Basically, when we teach people how to use video, all you're trying to do is, look, you've already got all these use cases in your normal selling world, right? They're all reasons, situations where you have to connect with prospects and customers, and you just get yourself in the mindset of when would a video be better than a telephone call or a voicemail or waiting 4 weeks to get all the right people on a live Zoom call. And once people understand that, that's when they really start to get a lot of progress in starting more conversations and accelerating their sales cycle. All right, so I'm going to talk about these 3 use cases, and then we're going to go over and actually look at them. And again, as a reminder, if you've got any questions along the way, just type those into the question box, and we can take a look at those as we go. Okay, so the first one I'm going to talk about, or I'll show you here in a minute, is the top of the funnel. And these are really arranged, these 3 use cases that I'm going to show you here are arranged the same way you would think of a funnel, of a sales funnel. So the top is lead generation, right? It's branding, it's marketing, it's awareness, it's thought leadership. You're just trying to attract somebody's attention. So that's what we're going to look at in this first one. It's posting something on LinkedIn so that it's available to as many people as possible. And again, you're trying to generate interest, a response, a lead, that type of an idea. The next thing that we're going to look at is a one-to-one message. This is designed to start a sales conversation. This is one where you are specifically recording a message to an individual. You're going to email it to them. They can click on it, see your video. And again, it's meant really to get a meeting, probably to get you to that live 2-way Zoom or MS Teams call. And then once you're involved in a sales cycle and you're moving your way down, at some point you're going to deliver a proposal. Now, maybe in the old days, or maybe for a few of you, you're still delivering proposals face-to-face in the customer's office. Still not a lot of that going on right now as we sit in February 2021. So, you know, the next option would be, oh, maybe we're going to get all the players around on a Zoom call. Possible. It gives you the live element and discussion. That's certainly a benefit. But if you found, like I have, that people are just overwhelmed with their video conferencing and they're booked 2 or 3 weeks out, if you're trying to get 3 or 4 people to all get lined up, it can really push your deal. And so we and our customers have found that you can actually accelerate deals by delivering a recorded walkthrough of a proposal and maybe shaving 2-3 weeks off of the time that it just takes to coordinate people get through. So we're going to show you an example of that one here right now. So here's the first one that I want to show you guys. So again, we spoke about, I'll stop this right now. So we spoke about the top of the funnel is where you're going to be posting something on LinkedIn. This is the one-to-many example. So this is an example of one of our graduates of the Selling with Video course. She's an insurance broker, and she decided after she learned these skills, she was going to do a weekly update. It's typically like a 1-minute update that she does about different aspects of the insurance market. And so I'm just going to let this play. This one actually was a little bit longer. It's 1 minute and 24 seconds. But I think we'll go ahead and play it, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. So here we go.
Hey, Jordan Coleman here. Welcome to another installment of Less Risky in 60. Long before COVID made its way to American soil, the insurance market was beginning to harden. The insurance marketplace is like a roller coaster, taking prices up and down. The price drops are known as a soft market, and the increases are known as a hard market. So what caused this shift? Two of the biggest culprits are social inflation and nuclear verdicts. Social inflation refers to the rising cost of claims that are a result of societal trends and views towards litigation. Think juries who want to send a message and levy large awards against corporations. These large awards are called nuclear verdicts. Because of these, insurance companies needed to bring in more premium dollars to pay for future large claims, and voila, the hard market was back. So what does this mean to you? Well, it means you have either seen or are going to see changes to your insurance program. This could be in the form of increased pricing or changes in limits and policy language. And while you can't control the market, you can control a few things: your risk management efforts, getting an early start on your renewal, and working with a broker who has the knowledge and relationships to navigate the hard market. Directly below are links to 2 articles that provide further detail on what I discussed today. If you'd like to talk more about how we're helping your peers in this market, you can reach out to me via a direct message or by email and phone. Thanks for watching Less Risky in 60. Until next time, stay safe.
Okay, so I want to make a couple comments about this. So the first thing, as I always emphasize to people, realize this is one of about 50 or 60 broker sellers at this company. This is not some marketing video that took 3 months to make and cost tens of thousands of dollars. This is one salesperson taking it upon herself to be a thought leader, record this 90-second video. She's doing them every week, and she's really presenting valuable, very tangible benefits to her audience who are interested in risk management for their companies. So you can see she's got some elements here. She's got her branded company image up here in the video. She kind of cleverly picked her roller coaster green screen background as she was describing how insurance rates go up and down and what are the factors that impact that. She also has a call to action in here to reach out to her if you want some more information. And again, this is sent out to anybody who wants to watch it on LinkedIn. You can see if we come right down here, she had over 1,300 views. There were 10 people that made comments, and there were 74 that liked it. Now, all 84 of these people that reacted to her post, meaning either a comment or a like, all of those people are visible. She can come in here and look, as can I. She can come in here and look at who all of these people are. So from a prospecting standpoint, this gives her an opportunity. If there's somebody here that might be a prospect for her, if there's somebody that might be good to add to her LinkedIn network, maybe they would just be a referral source or other, it's very easy for her to identify it and to then reach out and send them a LinkedIn invitation. I mean, it's pretty easy to send them an invitation if they just watched your 60-second video and liked it. Your opening line is, hey, thanks so much for liking my, video. I'm just curious what, prompted you to check it out, or what did you think about it, or how are you guys handling increased rates? And right off the bat, you've got a connection, and now you're engaged in a conversation. That's what sales is all about. So this is one example of using the video, again, at the top of the funnel to pull in, to both share information and help with prospecting. All right, so just 1 second, then I'm going to jump over to our next example. All right, so our next example here, this is going to be a prospecting example. This is one of my colleagues here that works at Vengresso, Sebastian Benitez, and this is a email message that he sent to a prospect that he's working. One of the things you'll notice here is he used the background of a green screen background of the prospect's lobby, which is kind of a nice attention getter. And I'll just play this information here so you can kind of get a feel for that.
Hey, this is Sebastian with Vengresso. C.H. Robinson is increasing its focus on digital selling, and I put together a few resources that will help you, including how you can use video to engage with prospects like this. The first piece of content is a 4-minute video on 5 reasons you should be using video right now. The second is a comprehensive guide on converting prospects into sales conversations. The third is a 2-minute long video on learning to leverage LinkedIn's voicemail. Thanks for connecting, and let me know which of the 3 was your favorite content using the reply button down below. Until next time, please be safe. Bye-bye.
Okay, so a couple of comments here. You can see obviously it's meant to start a sales conversation, to have the person send a reply or book a meeting by picking either one of these buttons here. This is a video tool that allows us to have content on the landing page along with the video itself. So obviously Sebastian is taking good use of that here by including some relevant pieces of information for this customer profile and just kind of doing a quick walkthrough of this. So any one of these, if you wanted to come in, right, that's going to take us right to the blog by clicking on that. The blog information there, or again, over here's an ebook, and this is a YouTube video. So it's a great way, as content marketing is obviously a very effective way of getting customers' attention and moving a sale along. Here he's able to really introduce these types of content that may be valuable to his target audience in a way that's, again, a little bit more graphically pleasing than just putting a bunch of links in an email. The other thing that I'll mention, which is kind of a nice aspect of it, is if I come down here into that reply button, not only could I come in here and instantly type him a message like, hey, I didn't know you could leave voicemails on LinkedIn, but I could actually click this button. I'm not going to go all the way through it because I don't know what it would do since I'm wrapped inside, a BrightTalk screen share. But if the prospect actually wants to send a video back and I click that, it'll fire up my camera and allow them to send a video reply back to the video, which is kind of cool. So that is methodology number 2. That's starting out a sales conversation. Now, the last one I'm going to show you is where you're in the sales cycle and now you want to deliver that proposal. If I come over to this, what we're going to see here, this is an email that I sent. You see this little animated thumbnail. When the prospect would click on it, this is the landing page that they would end up on. So what they're going to see here is, it's a little tough to see right there, but I'll just start this for a second. What we're going to see here is this one is actually a little longer. So this is 7 minutes and 39 seconds. And the reason this one is longer is I am actually walking them through a proposal, which is delivered as an attachment on that email. So this is a way that you can tell a little bit longer story. Again, you're still bringing yourself there. You're not relying on your internal champion to sort of sell your product or service, which they're never going to be able to do as well as you. And so again, it's a great way that you can almost be there. It's a great way that you can take timing constraints out of the equation. If you think of how Netflix operates, one of the reasons Netflix is so popular is because people don't have to show up. It's on their schedule, right? It's on demand. It's on their schedule. You don't have to try and fit some window Tuesday at 9 p.m. to watch your favorite show. And so it's the same idea here when you are communicating information to your prospects to move a sale along. So that's where the video really comes into play in using this. Now, the last thing that I'm going to show you guys, which is a really important piece, is the analytics that come with video. So if you look at this particular video, there's 4 elements in here. There's the video itself, and there's 3 different assets. There's a blog, there's an image, and then there's actually a link back to that video we just looked at of Jordan Coleman, and we just use that as an example to show people. Everything in there, any action that the viewer would take is actually logged, it's tracked, it's available for the seller to see, which really gives you tremendous insights about who is on the buying committee, who's looking at it, what pieces of content are they looking at, how long did they look at it, did they go back and visit it? All of these things are giving you information as the seller as to the intent of your prospect. And so here quickly, you're just seeing one example. What this is telling me is the various people at a particular company that have looked at this presentation. And it's easy for me to then look at any of these email formats and then just go right back into LinkedIn and see what they might be actually sharing, who actually may have shared that on LinkedIn. Of our 3 methods, so we looked at those. And I mentioned some of these along the way, but I'll go ahead and highlight them again as a summary. First off, video has a higher click rate, right? It's just such attractive eye candy. You know, you see that little video in there, especially if you can do the animated piece of it. People are very inclined to do it. It's really important to put the timing there. People don't want to feel like they're getting involved in, you know, some 15-minute video. So if it's 90 seconds, go ahead and let them know it's only 90 seconds. But emails with video have a much higher click rate is the point. Putting face to a name builds rapport faster. And in this era of social isolation, very, very critical. We talked about the fact that the viewer can watch it on their time, kind of the Netflix model, and the landing page can support additional content. And that tracking that we just looked at will tell you, might reveal some people you didn't know about in the account that are influencers or decision makers. And it'll tell you what things they're looking at and how important it is to them. So if you guys would like to know more about the program that we do, the other thing we would just say is that here we're talking about LinkedIn profile makeovers. That's one of the things we do, but we should really just make this in general that if you would like any kind of information about remote selling, whether it's LinkedIn or upgrading your profile or any of those different elements, you know, you can email us directly, sales@Vengresso. You can go visit vengresso.com or go to this moresalescall.com information to get a little bit more. So with that, I'm going to bring up our closing video, and then I'm going to jump over the questions. I want to thank everybody for showing up. All right. So video's over, and it's time to read questions. That means I got to put on my reading glasses here. And all right, so I'm going to jump up here. Thanks, Andrea. She has been prioritizing some of these questions coming in, so that is great. Question is, can you describe the funnel versus video uses? Yeah, so I'm seeing some of these checked off. Looks like I may have already described that one. As we looked at the 3, they were really kind of going down the funnel from awareness to get the meeting, to close the deal with the proposal. Those are probably the 3 most classics. How can I break the ice on a Zoom call with a new prospect? I would say, so this is, you know, outside the realm of recorded videos. So congratulations, you've already got the first meeting because you're on a Zoom call. Great. So how can you break the ice on a Zoom call? My recommendation would be take a look at their digital footprint and see if you can discover some relevant rapport building information. So when I say their digital footprint, probably the best area to start with is their LinkedIn profile. In our LinkedIn training, we cover this extensively. One of the things we teach our salespeople and our clients is something we call the 3x3 method. 3x3 method is spend 3 minutes trying to find at least 3 things that are relevant about your prospect. Again, the LinkedIn profile is certainly the richest collection of that because it's really just so big. You can also go look at their Twitter feed. If they're on Twitter, are they active? The profile itself doesn't have much information, but you can look at what their activity is if they're saying things. And then same would go for Facebook and possibly other social footprints depending on the industry that you're in or social networks. But if we just focus on LinkedIn, which typically for most B2B sellers is the best, you can look at their profile and you want to look at things like, what have they posted on LinkedIn? What can I glean from that? Where did they go to school? Where did they used to work? Who else are they connected to? Have they gotten any recommendations? Have they gotten any awards? All of these things are available in the LinkedIn profile. So take a look at those before you get on the call. Chances are you're going to find one or two things that'll help you break the ice on that Zoom call. All right, next one up. How can I personalize video on each? Any tips to make it faster? Yeah, so that is a great, very kind of insightful, deep question. Even like an email, but even more so with video, it's always a trade-off between how personal are you going to make it versus what kind of volume can you do to crank out a lot of messages. So if you said, hey, I'm only prospecting 2 accounts this year because each one of them is a $10 million opportunity, then it's no big deal because you can afford to spend hours and hours on your prospecting outreach if you're only going after 2 accounts. However, if your job is to contact 25 accounts every day, you don't quite have the volume to do that. So we tend to think of the personalization of video as sort of like 3 concentric circles. In the middle, the smallest little circle you would have would be low volume, high quality accounts, whether that's 5, 10, or 20, but they're low enough volume that you can afford to invest maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes for a message to any particular one. And you're going to cut each one live. You're going to say, hey, Jim, great to see you or talk to you. Or I saw you in the news or something like that. So that's the high quality, but low quantity of accounts. Then the next ring out is kind of in between. Maybe those are people, maybe there's 50 or 100 of them. In that case, what you want to do typically is target like the buying persona. So if they're VPs of sales of cybersecurity company, or they're HR people at financial services companies, or maybe they're CEOs in the Chicago area, then you're going to make a somewhat generic message. It's not going to call them out, but you are going to say like, hey, I've talked to a lot of CEOs in the Chicago area. One thing I hear from them is, and if you send that to CEOs in the Chicago area, then they feel like, okay, this is targeted for me. If you go all the way out, you have to cover, thousands of people, then it's going to need to be very generic. You might strip out the Chicago area if you're selling to CEOs anywhere or executives anywhere. You might say, hey, we talked to a lot of executives, and what we hear from them is, now in that case, you could send it to anybody in the world that was an executive. So that's a little bit about it. It's always a judgment kind of between how much time and what's the payoff going to be. What do you recommend for the script writing in terms of tone and props to use? So these are very good questions. I can tell we've got an educated video audience on the line here. So a couple things first about the script writing. So people a lot of times they'll get hung up on this and they'll think it's so different. It's not really the different. If you're used to talking to customers in person, if you're used to talking to them on the telephone or on a Zoom call, or sending them emails, then you've got the gray matter in your brain to put together messaging for your customers. The only difference this kind is your iPhone is on the other side with a little red button flashing at you as you're saying it. So you're just going to want to put together your script for the same way. Different props, it would just really depend on the message. Certainly it's good to have some kind of graphic visual. We like using the prospect's logo, as you saw in example number 2, where Sebastian was sending an outreach to a company called C.H. Robinson. So he actually just went on Google, found a picture of their lobby, put it in his background, because again, it's going to be very attractive. If somebody gets an email and they see some guy standing there in their lobby, that kind of piques their curiosity. The other thing I'll say is that the more there are a lot of different video applications. We like one that's called OneMob. The more sophisticated ones do have a teleprompter feature in it, which makes it obviously easier for you to really nail what it is you're trying to say. Personally, and I think for the other sellers at Vengresso, we use the teleprompter maybe 40% of the time. If it's one of those ones we really, really have to nail. The other 60% of the time, there's a combination of either being comfortable enough with the message or not wanting to look too polished and wanting to be a little bit more authentic and casual, where we won't use the teleprompter. Okay, is there a way to send video directly from LinkedIn in an invitation message? So yes, it's kind of a yes or no. So you can put a link in an invitation message now. So you can put a web link in there. That web link, of course, could go to your to the landing pages like we saw there, and it could say like, hey, I want to invite you to grow your network and that type of thing. So it's possible to do that. We don't recommend that in our process. So what we recommend is that you send them a relevant invitation, and there's kind of a formula for that, but we recommend you send them a relevant invitation to connect first, void of a URL, because that can tend to get a little pushback from people and lower your acceptance rates. And then when they accept, now that you're level 1, you can easily message them anything that you want. And so then we recommend you send a video welcome message like, hey, thanks for connecting to me. I see you're in this business. Here's something that might help your team or something like that. All right, next question. Do I consider video selling as a new staple for sales messaging instead of the traditional ways like emails and cold calling? Short answer is yes. Not saying that I expect it to replace email and cold calling, but it's going to augment it. It's going to give you one more arrow in the quiver. There are going to be some prospects that respond to it better. It's going to position you in a different light. It's going to help accelerate the rapport that you might have, because they are seeing your face and they're seeing your smile, and maybe you're going to be funny or creative or something like that. And we all know that buyers go through that process of know, like, and trust. So the more that they sort of have seen you and kind of feel like they can trust you, then that is certainly going to help. So again, I would say it's increasingly going to play a bigger role. It's not going to completely replace email and telephone, but I would say the modern seller needs it in their bag. Looks like perhaps our last question, which is going to put us right at the 45-minute, perfect, says, how can I send a video message via email and track the response? Well, that's what I showed you, I guess, on kind of the last piece of it. Again, of the video applications, most of the more sophisticated ones will do that, and they will tell you who viewed it, how long did they view it, have they gone back to it, are other people seeing it? I'll tell you a good story about that, how I actually won a nice deal. I had an internal champion who was the VP of Sales Enablement, wanted to bring me in to do a training session at their sales kickoff. And I sent him a message and a proposal through video. And I noticed that he opened it and read it about 5:30 the afternoon that I sent it to him. And 40 minutes later, I got another alert, and I saw somebody else had opened it, and I didn't know the person's name, but I could reverse engineer it from the format of their email address. And I went back into LinkedIn and I saw who it was. It was the CEO of the company. So obviously my internal champion, the VP, had sent it to the CEO of the company. The next morning, the VP of Sales Enablement called me up and he said, hey, I passed this on to our CEO. He saw it last night. He loves the idea. Let's do it. You're hired. So it's being able to track that information and find out who else is looking at it is a really valuable piece of it. So with that, it looks like we've got all our questions answered. I want to thank everybody for showing up here. Again, if you guys have got any questions, you can send them to sales@vengresso.com or visit Vengresso LinkedIn company page, YouTube channel, or Twitter to get any more information.